G'day guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie. Let's get right into it. Cheers. Posted by user TABFF234324, titled, Am I the arsehole here? My friend keeps on talking about my ex in front of my fiancé. So my 29 male best friend Jess, 29 female, keeps mentioning my ex, 29 female, in front of my fiancé, and I'm thinking of cutting her off. I want to know if I'm overreacting or if Jess is in the wrong. For context, Jess and I went to the same high school and the same college. We were friends in high school. However, since we both went to the same out-of-state college, we became best friends since then. We have always been there for each other during the best and worst times. However, things have always been platonic, and she's more like a big sister to me who made sure that I stay on the right track. I have only been in 2 long-term relationships so far. One was with my ex Lisa for 7 years. We met in college, and we dated all through our college years. Lisa and Jess also became good friends too. After college, Lisa and I just grew apart and had different goals in life. I became boring after college as I was working on my PhD while doing a full-time job. Lisa broke up with me as she wanted to party on weekends while I was home studying. I was heartbroken, but I don't think that I ever blamed her or had resentment towards her, as I understood my decisions were selfish and should not hold her back from having the best life. Jess always stood by me and comforted me during that time. Jess and Lisa were good friends, and Jess always kept on telling me that Lisa loves me and will be back one day when I am ready. I foolishly held on to the hope and stayed friends with Lisa. That was until I met my fiancé Yang. After I finished my PhD, I got a job in a big tech company. Yang joined our team a year after me. We started going out for drinks and dinner, and we started dating seriously pretty soon thereafter. We are happy together, and financially we are in a great place. Needless to say, I stopped talking to Lisa after I started dating Yang. I proposed to Yang a year after we started dating, and we got engaged last year. Jess has been acting weirdly since we got engaged. One of the first things she said to Yang after we got engaged was how I had planned the same thing for Lisa, proposing on a local hiking trail. It was a bit off-putting that she was bringing up Lisa, whom I broke up with almost 5 years ago, on such a happy occasion. However, Yang asked me not to spoil my mood, as she felt that Jess was just commenting on how I had that plan in mind for years. Since then, every time we meet, Jess, without fail, brings up Lisa and how things that I'm doing are all things that I had planned with Lisa. This happened when we bought a house, planned for vacations, etc. Jess always starts with some nostalgic story and then brings up how Lisa and I were so happy together. She's still good friends with Lisa and keeps bringing me updates about Lisa and just how great Lisa is doing at work when no one is asking for it. It felt like she was painting a rosy picture of Lisa to Yang and telling Yang that she would always become second to Lisa. Yang told me that Jess's comments bothered her, and I also felt the same. I've brought this up with Jess many times and asked her not to do it. However, she says she'll try, but since I dated Lisa for 7 years, she would be a part of many stories from the past. Also, she asked me why talking about Lisa bothers me and asked if I still have feelings for her. I have reduced hanging out with Jess. However, she's close with my mum and is always invited to all of our family parties and holidays. I talked to my mum and sister about this, and they feel as though I'm overreacting. They feel that Jess is just telling stories, and since the stories are mostly from college days and later, Lisa will be a character in the story. They also feel that I shouldn't be bothered by Jess mentioning Lisa since we broke up a long time ago. I feel that it's disrespectful to Yang, as she doesn't need to hear about all the fun that Lisa and I had when we were together and how we were planning to get married. Do you guys think that I'm the asshole to stop here, or Jess is truly acting out of line? In the comments, you probably need to separate your time with your fiancé away from your friend. On a side note, your friend comes across poorly on one other aspect. When you were too busy to date so you could study, is she encouraging you to stay available while your ex goes about dating around? Do you think that she ever encouraged your ex to not? Or do you think that she was telling your ex that she could have all the fun she wanted because you would still be around? Just some food for thought. And OP says, She thought we were 24 when we were broken up, and she always justified that Lisa was young and it's natural to date around before you settle down. She also encouraged me to do the same. However, after my breakup, I decided that I would not be in a relationship based on what happened to the previous one, and never dated anyone until after I graduated. Someone else says, not wrong. In fact, it's thoughtful of your fiancé's feelings. Jess always kept on telling me that Lisa loves me and will be back one day when I'm ready. Yikes! And easy, Jess, you keep bringing up my ex, and you keep making comments which are dismissive of my relationship with Yang. I am telling you point blank that this is harming our friendship, and it saddens me that you dismiss my feelings as being unimportant on this topic. If you can't respect me and my relationship with Yang, please understand why it will likely end our friendship. OP says, we have had this exact conversation. Jess then proceeded to ask Yang is she offended by her telling stories about me. Yang was polite and said she's okay, and then she told me that I'm being too sensitive. Someone else asks, OP, do you know if Lisa is married? Maybe Jess is trying to sabotage your engagement so that you can be with Lisa. And OP says, I know Lisa is single. She's not been in any serious long-term relationship after me. In fact, Jess always makes it a point to bring up that regularly and to update me, even after I tell her that I have no interest. My mum loves gossip, and they also discuss about Lisa regularly. Jess is just being a mean girl, / have you talked about Lisa at all? And OP says, at this point, I suspect Jess is just being mean to Yang. I would have cut her off a long time ago if she was not so close to me or my family for so many years. Lisa is out of the picture, to be honest. I have completely gone no contact with her for the last 2 years. Then I don't know what else there is to say at this point, OP. I think just cut it off with Jess too. Let her be close with your family and let her attend things, but make it very much clear that she is to have no more contact with you guys, and she knows why. I know that's easier said than done, but just putting your foot down and saying that is more than acceptable. I think everyone here would agree. If she's just being mean to Yang, then why keep her around? Genuinely, what is the point? And now, onto the update. So I wrote a post a month ago regarding my friend Jess mentioning my ex constantly in front of my fiancé. Thanks to everyone who commented, and how inappropriate it was. However, the last month has been nothing but crazy, and I'm still trying to make sense of what happened so far. After my post, I decided to talk to Jess, and I gave her an ultimatum not to speak about my ex Lisa again. I know Jess and Lisa are still friends, but I was uncomfortable of her comparing my fiancé Yang with Lisa all the time. I broke up with Lisa 5 years ago, and she has nothing but a faint memory in the past. Jess kept on defending herself, and telling me that I was with Lisa for most of my adult life, and it's hard to tell any stories from the past without including her. She also blamed me for being emotionally childish and just forgetting about Lisa when she was with me for 7 years. Finally, Jess agreed that she will not bring up Lisa in front of Yang, and I should also not treat Lisa as though she does not exist, since she is still Jess's friend. I informed Yang about our conversation, and although she was appreciative about it, she said that I did not need to do it, and she knows how much I love her, and every time Jess brings up my Lisa, she feels sorry for Lisa that she let a guy like me go. Yang went to visit China 2 weeks ago for a month, as we plan to get married in her hometown. She's taking care of her shopping as well as preparations for the wedding. Jess invited me to her house that Friday for dinner, as I was home alone. I'm also good friends with her husband, and we were just all chatting and drinking in the living room. At around 7:30 p.m., the doorbell rang, and Jess excitedly went to open the door. To my surprise, it was effing Lisa at the door. She was all dressed up as if she were ready for a date to come in. I had not seen her in person for almost 3 years, and I was shocked to see her. She sat down and started making small talk with me. I was extremely uncomfortable and went into the kitchen to talk to Jess. I was angry at her and asked her what was going on. She kept telling me that it's been 5 years since the breakup and just to get over it and be nice to Lisa. She said that Lisa was excited to meet me and she thought that we were all adults and could have one fun evening together. We had a fight, and I told her that she should not have invited Lisa after our conversation the other day, and I do not want to be friends with her anymore. I went into the living room and I politely excused myself and told everyone that I had a work emergency and I had to leave early. Lisa looked sad, but I genuinely felt uncomfortable to be made to hang out with my ex without my consent. I came home and I called Yang. I have never seen her more furious, and she told me she's not comfortable with Jess anymore as she has some agenda that we do not know about. It's different to talk about Lisa, but to invite her over without consulting me is not okay. I also felt the same, and I called Jess the next day and told her that she crossed a line and I was terribly upset with her. I stopped taking her calls and I ghosted her. I also told my mum and sister about the whole incident. Last Sunday, my mum called me for lunch, and when I got there, I saw Jess was already there. I told my mum that I don't want to talk to Jess and I can't stay. However, she asked me to sit as they all wanted to talk to me. I have a glutton for punishment, and I decided to hear them out. My mum started with how Jess has been there for me all these years and only has my best interests at heart. She kept on telling me that they are the three people, my mum, sister, and Jess, that love me the most. Jess started saying how she felt that I was making a big mistake in not having to hear what Lisa had to say. She told me that Lisa was my first love, and Lisa is now ready to settle down, and we can pick up where we left off. She reminded me how broken I was when Lisa left me, and how life is giving me a second chance. My sister also chimed in and said how they all liked Lisa more than Yang, and how we both looked so great together. Finally, my mum started saying how our culture was so different than Yang's, and it's hard for them to relate to her. I asked them in what way, and my mum said that they didn't understand what Yang says sometimes, and that we have nothing in common with her. Then my mum asked me to think about how Lisa and I would have such wonderful-looking kids, while if I marry Yang, our kids will look so different. I started getting their drift and I probed more. My mum told me how our kids would look Asian with small eyes and not like any others in the family. I asked my mum if she cared about my kids' looks more and not about how smart they'll be since Yang has a PhD. She blew it off, and I realized that she just didn't want me to marry Yang because she was Chinese and not white. My mum told me to forgive Jess, and my mum asked Jess to talk to Lisa on my behalf and asked her if she would be interested in getting back together with me. My mum was adamant that since I loved Lisa so much, I should be happy and pick things up where I left off, as that is the best for everyone. I have never been so angry and may have said a lot of unkind things to all of them before I left. I'm so depressed right now. I not only lost my best friend, but also am not sure how I can move on from what my mum said. My mum and sister raised me, and that's the reason that I am where I am today. However, I cannot get over how racist they are being, and how they were just pretending to like Yang for all of these years, while actively working on breaking us up. I have been so shocked that I have not told any of this to Yang so far. I might have to wait for her to come back next week and talk to her in person. Again, thanks everyone for all of your messages on the last post, as they helped me a lot to think through the situation. My life is more effed up than I could imagine, and I cannot imagine how dejected Yang will feel after hearing all of this. In the comments, Caspian4136 says, "Jesus Christ, dude, this is a lot. I'm so sorry that your mum and sister turned out to be racists. That has to have gutted you. No words except that they'd have to come crawling back on hands and knees, begging and groveling before I'd accept an apology. Sadly, you'll never forget what they said and think, so the relationship will never be the same. As for Jess, she's done. If you feel that you want some sort of closure, just tell her that she's crossed so many lines that she's on another planet by now, and what she did is unforgivable. Block her on everything, mourn the friendship, but try to not look back. Look forward to the life that you've created with Yang. Talk with your fiancée and tell her everything. She'll help you through this." This was not a surprising update. Jess isn't subtle in the first post. She did OP a favor by making it clear which friendship that she valued more. The comments telling OP that Jess was in love with him have to have been written by bots or illiterate people, because how the hell do you read that first post and get that when Jess makes it painfully obvious that she's trying to get him back together with Lisa? Honestly, I could have seen it being a longer plan. Like she knew that OP wouldn't go back to Lisa, so Jess just kept bringing it up to sabotage their relationship and drive a wedge between Yang and OP. Then she swoops in and saves the day. Of course, that isn't what happened, but that is usually where my mind goes first in these scenarios, instead of racist family shadow plans. Well, I will say I'm angry, and I also am disappointed. Who would have thought that it was the racist family plans all along? What a twist! Although if I were to be in OP's shoes right now, I would be absolutely destroyed to have to lose a best friend and my mum and sister knowing that they thought this and that they were planning this the whole time. That is not something that's easy to deal with and not something that's easy to get past, and I wish OP all the best in the future going through this because, Jesus, that is insanely tough. Our next post is by user Legal Question Dallas, titled, I want to get a new job, but boss owns all my possessions and is going to take everything away if I leave. I don't think this is right, but I don't know who to call. Dallas, Texas. This is kind of a long story, but I'm 19 and want to leave my job and go find a new one. I can do part-time so I can finish school. My boss is okay with me leaving, but the problem is that he won't be able to support me anymore if I do, which means I will lose everything that I own, and now I don't really know where to turn. I started here when I was 16. A guy I knew got a big suite in the hotel, which is one of the nicest ones in Dallas. We had a party here. We were drinking and it got out of control, and people threw up in the room and caused a lot of damage around the hotel and stole a bunch of things. The next morning, I woke up to the manager and security yelling at me. My friends were all gone, but they left me there sleeping. The manager took me to his office, and I was crying, and I begged him not to call the police. So he said that I could start coming in after school and helping them clean rooms and do dishes in the kitchen to work off the money from all the damage, and that he wouldn't call the police. After a few weeks, I told him that I couldn't do it anymore because my parents wouldn't drive me since I wasn't bringing home any money to save, and they said that he was taking advantage of me. But I just didn't want to tell them that I was working to pay off the debt, and I didn't listen because I know they didn't know the full story. So he bought me a used bike to use, and said that he wanted me there every day until the damage was all paid, plus the bike. Over the next couple of months, he got more and more demanding, and every time I asked how much more work I had to do, he always just told me that he'll tell me when I'm finished, and if I don't want to, then he can just call the police. So I just kept working and doing what he said. He changed my hours to 4 to 12 every night, and it was affecting my school. He's a nice guy, and I didn't want my grades to suffer, and I always had to bring my report cards to him, but he said to not drop out. But when I turned 18, I stopped going to school and just slept in the day. And when he found out, he said that I had to be here pretty much all day if I'm not going to be in school, which I hate because I don't really have any time for friends or my girlfriend. Then things got rocky with the rents, and I said that I wanted to leave, and my boss is house sitting for a family that lives in India. It's been great, except a couple of months per year, I have to move out because they're coming home. They don't know that I live here for the rest of the time. It's not all bad because I've lived comfortably. He lets me take home food from the hotel that is left over from the very upscale restaurant, and the house I live in is really nice. And if there are books or other things in the gift shop that no one buys, sometimes he lets me take those too. Still, I've told him several times that I want to be paid, but he always says that I owe him and will not tell me how much the damage was or how much I have worked off. I know the statute of limitations is 3 years, and after that, he can't press charges against me. So yesterday was 3 years exactly, and I told him I know that he can't have me arrested anymore and that I want to quit. He said that's okay, but he bought my bike, all the good-looking clothes that I had, and all the essentials that I needed since I was 16. Now he's saying that if I don't work for him anymore, that I can't live in the house, and I have to give back all the things that he bought for me to use during my job. He's got me a lot of things, but I have seriously no money, so there's no way that I can leave the job. When I need something, I just ask him, and if I'm doing well at work, then he'll buy it for me. So I don't even know where to start to rebuild my life after this place. Are there resources for cases like this? Is there a way to make him let me keep everything until I'm on my own feet? Thank you, Reddit. In the comments, xbrand2 says, slavery is illegal. That's what's been going on here. Lord, I don't even know where to begin. Talk to a lawyer that deals with employment law in your area. OP says, is that really going to count as slavery? And is that textually a crime? I broke the law and he was giving me a chance to avoid prison. He also said since we used fake IDs and his brother's credit card, that he could call the FBI on us all for fraud. I was really doing all of this to protect my friends and me and my girlfriend from going to jail. He was talking a bunch of crap. You've been taken advantage of. Go speak to a local lawyer. OP replies, I wanted to let everyone know that I looked up the best employment lawyers in Dallas and sent some emails last night. I figured that if this is as big as a deal as everyone here is saying, then they will for sure want my case. Anyway, I got a call back today to set up a meeting first thing tomorrow morning. Wish me luck. I'm not surprised that someone responded so quickly and you got an appointment first thing tomorrow. Anyone who practices employment law would dream of this case. Best of luck, and please keep me updated if you can. And now, on to the update. Thank you all so much for your advice this weekend. I'm literally in the middle of the craziest day of my life today. Looking back, I feel like my situation was way over the top, but it took hearing all of you say it, and calling it slavery, and then going and talking to these lawyers for it to really hit home what he has put me through over these past 3 years. I'll write more later, but I just wanted to give a quick update because I'm so excited that I can hardly focus. Yesterday, I googled the top employment law firms in Dallas and sent some emails. I then got a call from a lawyer saying that he wanted to meet with me the first thing in the morning. My mind was racing all night, and I didn't get to sleep until after 3 a.m., and I needed to leave by 7. I printed out about 50 pages of emails that I have with him over the past 3 years. I never delete anything, and also made notes from some of his voicemails. After about 5 minutes talking to me this morning, he asked if I would be okay for some of the other lawyers that he works with to join us, and I spent about 2 hours answering their questions and talking them through everything. The moment this all sank in for me of how big of a deal this was when I saw one of the lawyers tear up a couple of times while I was talking. Honestly, it never felt like such a big deal to me before, but now I'm seeing it from a whole new light. In the end, they said they'll take 100% of my case, and I won't have to pay them anything up front, and they just need a few days to do some research before we meet again and talk about the details, which is going to happen on Friday. Like a bunch of you said, they told me that it's a lot more than just a pay issue, and that there are a lot of parts that they need to explore about lost wages, and also criminal charges that he will 100% face, but that they need to talk about the strategy first. They also said since I'm over 18 now, that my parents don't need to know anything about it or be involved in any way. When we were finishing, the main lawyer that I was talking to asked what I was doing for the rest of the day. I told him that I thought I was just going to play it cool until we actually sue him, and I would go to work after this. I called in sick this morning and said that I would be in after lunch. He then said, "Will you excuse us for just a minute?" And they went into another office to talk for a few minutes. When they came back out, they asked me if I wanted to stop working at this job and get out from under this guy. I said yes, so he said to go home and pack my things, and they are going to make arrangements for me this afternoon. He said that I'm never going to work there again and should not answer any calls or messages from them ever again. So I've been home now for a few hours packing, and then I got this email from their office. Blank, it was a pleasure meeting you this morning. Blank asked me to get in touch to share details of the accommodations that we would like to provide, as well as some logistical information in advance of your Friday meeting. We've made a 30-day reservation for you at blank, which is closer to our offices, and blank. I've attached a copy of your reservation confirmation. Please note that it has been paid in full. Blank from our office will be in touch with you around 4 o'clock this afternoon to check in on how things are going and to coordinate with you on getting your things out of the house and into the hotel. She will also provide you with some spending money for any immediate essentials and get you set up with an UberX account to make transportation to our offices a little easier next time. Although we hope to represent you in these matters, we are providing these accommodations at no cost and with no obligation on your part. This is intended to help bring a more immediate stability to your living situation so that you can focus on your next steps in your life. Thank you again for getting in touch with us. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Warm regards, blank. So I'm assuming if they're willing to do all of this for me and spend all of this money, that they think that they're going to make a lot of money from this, which probably means that I'm also going to come out well. So I'm beyond thrilled with how this is turning out so far and 100% want to work with them. I still have a ton to pack and just wasted an hour on the internet, but I'm going to get back to it now. Thank you all so much for pointing me in the right direction. And now on to the final updates, titled, More ups and downs, but I'm finishing my education, made some new friends, back with my parents, and actually starting to enjoy life again. I posted here a couple of years ago when I was stuck working for someone who threatened to have me arrested over some room damage that my friends caused. Sorry I can't find the post, but some of you may remember. A lot has changed since then, and the advice that I got from all of you has been such a big part of it that I've thought about this frequently and wanted to come back and write something to update you guys. The firm that I hired was the best thing that I could have ever hoped for. They got me out from under his thumb immediately and helped me get back on my own feet without having to be under my boss or my parents or anyone else. During the days after that, I basically lived in their offices for a few months when this started, since we were going through 1,000 emails and voice messages, talking about the context behind them all, and trying to make a long timeline of events, and tell them everything that ever happened with him. It was so emotionally draining, but that team was very supportive and helped me through the hard times. When it was all laid in front of me, the guilt over what I did to my life really took hold. How could I be so stupid? It's so obvious what he was doing. Simple math said that none of this made sense, but I just didn't see it. I think part of it was because of my parents and not wanting to listen to them so much that I decided that they had to be wrong when they tried to get me to stop. My lawyers started talking to my boss and his lawyer and the hotel chain's executives and also to the police, and they said that there were also some issues that made it possibly a federal crime. None of that registered with me how serious it was. But once that happened, and I thought things were going to be okay, he came to the hotel that I was staying in. Yes, he actually followed me from my lawyer's office one day, and that's how he found out where I was staying, and came to the door yelling at me about how he gave me everything, and did everything for me, and that this is going to ruin him and his family, and showing me pictures of his kids who he said would have to starve without him to put food on the table. Telling me that I blew all of this out of proportion, and that my lawyers were going to bankrupt his family and put him in prison for life. They never said anything to me about that, and I didn't want his family to suffer so much, but he was also being really mean. He had never yelled at me like this before, and even though he never hurt me in the past, this time I was actually scared. I texted my lawyer to see what I should do, and they came immediately with the police, and they arrested him immediately, and they got me a restraining order. A few days later, my mum and lawyer came over while I was taking a nap and woke me up and told me that he took his own life. I have never felt as bad as I did at that moment. It's a feeling that I wouldn't wish on anyone. Just a sick feeling in my stomach, and my whole body felt numb. And I felt like it was a bad dream that I could wake up from, except I couldn't. I had a mental breakdown and spent 2 months in the hospital thinking about all the things he said to me about his family and about me overblowing this, and it made me question everything again. My lawyers said they would handle as much of this as they can without me and just come to me when they had something important that they needed my input for. My parents also came back into the picture and were very supportive and were helping more than I ever expected. I asked my mum to bring a printout of all the comments from my first post, and that helped me a lot. I read over them every day, just to remind myself that what he did was not okay, and that I was right to get help. The most apologetic person was someone from the hotel chain. They said that it was a private-owned and managed hotel, so my boss didn't even work for them, but they still wanted to make sure that I was okay. In the first comments, you guys were saying that I should be owed at least $30,000. Well, the hotel chain itself paid me more than just that for agreeing that they were not responsible for what he did. Lawyers said that it was a generous offer that they didn't even have to make, and that the person that I talked to genuinely felt sick over my situation and wanted to do the right thing. So they told me that I should take it, and that there was a lot more coming from the franchisee, which owns dozens of hotels, but not all from this chain. The franchisee was very defensive at first, but a big turning point was when they realized that one of the managers who was over the hotels in Dallas was actually a guy that I saw all the time, and who my boss had told the story of me working there, and we talked about it once, and he told me that he hoped that I worked it off soon and wished me good luck. But he knew that I was there for years, and he was also the one who approved our budgets, so he knew that they were not paying me. My lawyers were very smart to find this out, and when they did, the franchisee wanted to settle. It was a big settlement. My lawyers got a third. They said that it's one of the biggest any of them has ever seen for this kind of case, but they said that it was fully warranted. I have enough to live on for a very long time, and can also finish my education in hotel management, and will have enough left over to start a hotel after this if I still want to do that. It has been a blessing, but I also didn't realize how incredibly hard it is. I never told anyone about the settlement, but people found out. Everyone comes out of the woodwork and suddenly wants to be my friend again. So the hardest thing is by far trying to figure out who I want to be friends with and who I don't. Little awkward things like you go to dinner with a small group and people look at you like they expect you to pay for everyone just because you got a big payout. Guess who even had the balls to call me? The friends that I was with all those years ago who left me in that damn room, and my girlfriend who I tried to protect from her parents and didn't reveal their names so that her Bible thumper parents wouldn't find out that she was bi. It hurt a lot to hear from them after all these years. Very upsetting. Pretty much the only people that I really trust now are the people who stuck with me before. But I do have a financial manager now who makes sure that I'm being smart with my money and tells me how much I should use for different things that I want to do. So that's my story, and now I'm going to school part-time and also doing a lot of outdoor sports and also got into cooking. Little things like having time for hobbies and fun are a big change for me, and I still feel like it's some new life that I'm getting used to. I feel like I've lived 4 lives already in these different little phases. But so far, this one is my favorite. I still have nightmares sometimes about my old boss, and just remembering him yelling at me that day at my hotel, and then me hearing that he died. I remember all the times that he was nice to me, and gave me things, and did things for me, and gave me dating advice, and told me I was smart, pretty, etc. Sometimes I wonder, even as happy as I am now, if it was worthwhile to know that he's actually gone, and that his family is suffering and has nothing. My therapist says sometimes the right thing can be hard and hurts, and sometimes bad things happen to good people who don't deserve it, but that I did everything right, so that helps me feel a lot better, one day at a time. In the comments, Conleib says, I literally sighed with relief as soon as I read the words financial manager. I hope this person is able to live their best life from now on. Genuinely, as an accountant, even if I came into a large sum of money, that's my first expense. It's just different when it's personal finances, almost harder to budget. As a fellow accountant, I'd do the exact same thing and get on the phone to my old job's go-to FA, a great financial advisor and excellent drinker. I still can't wrap my head around what the hell the owner was thinking. Did he get off on the power trip? Did he justify himself saying that OP was paying for the damage? Did he think that he was teaching OP or something? Because it doesn't seem like a slave-operated hotel, just this one teenager there being exploited, so it was personal. You'd be surprised how much of this goes on in the US. Granted, it's more commonly domestic labor in private homes. Families hiring a live-in nanny and housekeeper and keeping her passport, controlling who she can see and when she can go out. Pretty much just like the stuff you hear about in the Gulf, just a bit more under the table. But hotels, restaurants, sweatshops, places that pay cash, easier to hide non-payment, and hire a lot of people with uncertain immigration status and/or language barriers, it happens in all of them. Used to be rife in Chinatowns, though I'm not sure if it's still like it was a couple of decades ago, although it probably is. A friend of mine who's a lawyer used to work on these cases in the NYC area all the time. Our neighbors growing up had a nanny whose friend, also a nanny, was being treated like this. My mum and her friend and her nanny drove over there one day while her family was out, helped her pack all of her stuff and get the hell out, and then she was our nanny for the next few years. Unlike her previous employers, my parents got her a driver's license and sponsored her for citizenship. She eventually met someone from her home country, and they got married and started a business. I'm pretty sure they're still the first people anyone in my extended family calls when they need a contractor. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to end today's episode. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!